Good evening and welcome to this evening's episode of the Hearts of Men podcast hosted by the Empowering Perspective community. We are your hosts for this conversation. Starting at the bottom tonight, I'm going to start right up under me, Mr. Tawami Gaddy, the son of Timothy. Right to his right, you have my main man, Chris McClellan, from the other side of the table, as I so affectionately calling him. Continuing to roll on around, we got Mr. Minister Roland Walker rolling down the street. And to my right, my homeboy, my brother from another mother, Garfield Martin, aka the Uncle Junior himself, and I am Dwayne Dwyer, also affectionately known as the Mindset Coach. Listen, it is always a great pleasure to connect with you fine gentlemen. Gentlemen, how are you?
I am well, and that intro is fire.
Same.
Hey man, we appreciate it.
Doing well, doing well.
You
You know,
guys are
I'm
looking
doing
good.
good, doing great.
You got
Hey,
rolling over there looking like the Reverend Deacon Dr. Love, man. I'm telling you.
I know, right? I want to go. I want to throw some quarters up there and give
You
him
know,
some
I just want
at
to
the
turn the
mic.
mic over to him and let him preach a sermon real quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
hey, just get a text. Get a
There you go. Young Timothy, what's going on, brother?
And I'm doing good. I'm here holding on, brother.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And listen,
Glad to be here with y'all.
man, it's a pleasure to always have you. Listen, I want to give an extra shout out to all of our fans in the chat, man. We guys love you guys, man. You guys are awesome. Already starting up. Lisa Keys, Bernadette Simmons, how you guys are doing? Cassandra McKenzie, it's great to see you guys again. Welcome to the show. Listen, if this is your first time joining us on the Hearts of Men podcast, we just want to welcome you. We want to thank you because you could be any place else on this beautiful Friday evening, but you are here with us and we do not take it lightly. So if you don't mind, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and share it with some of your friends and relatives and somebody who you believe will find value in this evening's conversation, because I think this conversation, kind of like the rest of them, is going to be very good. Because the topic of tonight's conversation is the dangers of a victim mentality. Now, you guys know how I like to do. I like definitions because words mean things. So as we're having this conversation, I'm just going to keep the definition rolling at the bottom. And as we think about it, I think everybody at some particular point in time have experienced this. You probably have displayed it as well. And as we roll into it, we want to make sure that everybody understands that we don't have it all together. Right. We have some bad experiences as well. We had to grow from it. So, because of that, I like to start off with reflections. So, as we go into this conversation, gentlemen, I want you to reflect and just kind of share with us, when have you experienced a victim mentality in your life, whether it's internal, whether you were the one playing the victim, or whether it was someone else. By all means, go ahead.
I know y'all ain't on me. Okay.
It's
I
the hat.
think that's what it is.
That's what it is.
I experienced having the victim mentality a few times in life. One was after divorce, when it came time to, I guess, because the divorce left me as a non-custodial parent, so I didn't have the child in the house. I was apprehensive about doing things with my son, calling and all these things, because in my head I had already came up with something. Oh, she telling him this, and she's feeding him a bunch of evil lies, and so I'm already painting a narrative that wasn't even true. But it made it easier for me to neglect on my end and not do certain things and live up to, top billing, because I say, well, if your mama wouldn't have, and all these other things. And it ended up, I think my part did more damage to me than it did anybody else. Because yes, I was removing myself, but I didn't realize how much I was hurting child and me. And that's why I say it did more damage to me, because I had to get over that and get past that and restore a relationship.
Hmm. I like where you're going with that, and I want you to hold that thought, even though you stole mine, by the way. I want you to hold that thought because I really want to get into exactly what you mean when we start talking in these different topics. But thank you for sharing that. Gentlemen, what else you got?
I got one. Mine is not going to be myself. It's going to be based off of the years in the military. I did 20 years and I saw a whole bunch of it. I've seen so many guys blame the system, blame somebody else for the reason why they did not get promoted, right? It's somebody else. Oh, it's the army. It's because I'm black. It's because, coach got the job over here and I didn't get the job, because Chris no sergeant first class this or no sergeant major this. That's why they got promoted. You know what I mean? And you see guys who do retire at 20 years at staff sergeant, or they always have a whole bunch of excuses and reasons on why they did not get promoted. And it's like, dude, come on. So like when I was a young soldier, E4 and E5 and E6, like I used to hear all of these things. And I used to start like repeating these things. And I'm just like, oh, well, that's what it is. And that's why, it's like I ain't even E7. And I'm like, oh, well, that's why coach didn't get promoted, is because he didn't know Roland and Roland the sergeant major at the academy. And, all of these different reasons, instead of saying, hey, let's look at your APFT score. Are you consistently scoring, 280, 290 or above? You know what I mean? What are your NCOERs doing? Are you completing civilian education? Let's look at your resume and see what you have been doing. And once I started getting promoted and stuff like that, and I realized that it was really just based off of your effort and what you do, like there was no victimhood mentality. So I saw that early on. I probably experienced it a little bit, but I got out of it. It didn't stay in it long, especially once I started getting promoted and actually seeing the benefits of the hard work that I had already put in. So,
Yeah, that's
especially
good.
the military.
Yeah, that's good. And I mean, I've seen it as well, exactly as you said. And as you guys are talking, I just want you to know I'm over here checking the block because I'm check both of them so far. Right, what Roland talked about, divorce check, promotion in the army check. I've seen it all and experienced it all. So again, I'm just going down the line right now because I think it's important for us to understand as we go through this and listen to these men express their experiences. Because I think what we're going to learn that we were on both sides of the fence as we continue. So, Chris and Timothy, what you got?
I'm trying to think of one that isn't too personal, but I've kind of been living in a victim mentality for the past 10 some years. It wasn't until recently that I started taking personal responsibility of where I was. I had a very, very abusive, and I can't even call him a stepfather. I'm just going to say the dude my mom married. He was really emotionally abusive and he was real manipulative. And I used to think that I was in a position that I was in because of how he did me. Then I just sat and thought about it like, well, why did you let it happen in the first place?
Hmm.
What about you made you want to go through this? What about yourself? Why was your self-esteem so low that you felt like this is how you were supposed to be treated? Like, when was this? And then when I thought about how silly it was, and it's like, all right, okay, this happened. All right, it's my fault for putting myself in that position. Move on. And then it just gets to that point. The victim mentality is a very, very, very dangerous place to be, especially when you're a man. It's dangerous. The victim mentality can stop you from doing things that'll help you make your dreams come true because you'll self-sabotage it because you think that you're not worth it. It's a horrible place to be. And once you break free of that, the people that are supposed to be around you will be around you. Once you break free of that, the opportunities that you really are looking for, they'll come knocking at your door. You won't have to really do nothing.
Yeah. I really want to get into that self-sabotage a little later, though, but definitely. Thank you for bringing that to the table. Young Timothy, what you got, brother?
Man, I got to switch it up, man, because I'm like you, coach. I'm checking off these blocks, and everybody's saying stuff that just line up. When I say everybody so far, everybody says stuff that lines up with either my childhood, my military experience, or whatever, uh, family life. But let me flip it. Growing up black in America, man, I just had to flip it, man. I had to change the dynamic just a little bit, man,
You did.
because
I think you're about to open up a can, and I can't wait for you to do it. So let's make it happen.
Take the gloves
uh,
off. Let's go.
you know, I got to be a little bit careful, man. I got to leave something out there for curiosity, nah. Uh, but being black in America, man, we and some of it is rightful. So we look back on the torture, the trauma, and the oppression of our ancestors, our parents, us, um, and the things we foresee coming to us in the near future, right? And in that, we are constantly in this victim mentality. You know, woe is me. Everything's happening to me, 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 me. Now, where I was contemplating is where I was going to make that turn at in this part of my statement, uh, because I can make a couple of different statements, right? Roland and Dwayne already know where I can go if I go here. But here's the reality: though we may be correct in a lot of our statements as Black people here in America, well, let's look at how much of it is not out. I want to be careful when I say fault, right? Because sometimes being a victim is not always about fault. It's
No,
about
say it.
responsibility,
Say
right?
it. Say fault.
It-
Say fault.
it's a, no, it's
Say
about
fault.
responsibility, right?
Exactly.
Because
That's why I said say fault. Because you can't really, if you're gonna bring up something like that, most of this is common knowledge that they know that they're not supposed to be doing. And if they do the opposite, then the opportunities are gonna come about. Most of them know this. They're not stupid.
right,
They're making a choice to be like this. So yes, say fault. Because when you make a choice to be like that, it's your fault that you get in those outcomes. So say fault.
I,
That's where
to
I
keep,
am with it.
hey, hey, fault, but fault brings about responsibility still, right? So we can ride either way, but either way of the matter, we don't do the things that are healthy for us as a community to move forward. There are hundreds of platforms on YouTube right now, a bunch of men shaming women and a bunch of women shaming men, and it just gets toxic because no one is talking about how we can come together and rebuild the family.
See what I said about this fight?
So,
See,
so there,
see,
yeah. So there can never be a a collective way to get out of our victimhood if the family is destroyed. We can't be the only community in this country without a family structure. What are we doing? Like I said, there's so many different ways I could take that. But I was in that circle. I grew up in that mindset. Everything I blame everything on the white man. But why aren't we standing together? Why when we go 2 months without hearing about a police shooting, we go back to doing it ourselves?
Hmm.
I, I'm off that one right there.
No, that's good. That's good. And again, as we progress, I really want to, I really want to bring some of that out because that's a good point. Since Roland stole my point, that's what happened when you get a preacher on the mic first. That since Roland stole my point, I think I want to go a different route, and my route's going to be very similar to yours. There, young Timothy, because when I was growing up, one of the things that I've heard is that I had to be twice as good. And the idea and carrying that idea in my mind for years and years and years on needing to be twice as good, it almost put me in a position to where I kind of like, I kind of like expected failure, right? And in that mindset, having to be twice as good, knowing that I need to be twice as good, that means I got to work twice as hard. I got to stay twice as long. I got to be twice as smart. I got to be twice as motivated. Like that becomes tiresome. Just understanding that you got to be 2 times what somebody else is. And then you get to the point to where it becomes too easy to blame somebody else for you not achieving so a goal. And you guys have heard it. This person is holding me down. The man is keep holding me back. That's something that we heard a lot growing up. And so when you look at that particular idea, that knowledge base is rooted in someone telling you that you got to be twice as what someone else is. And unfortunately, let's be honest, we're all human. And some days I just want to chill out. Some days I just want to relax. But according to the twice as mentality, I can't afford to do that. I can't take no days off. I can't relax. I can't go to the beach like everybody else. I can't go to Cancun like some other people are going. I got to work and I got to keep working, because also this kind of feeds into the idea of what I was told manhood is all about: men provide and protect. And in order for me to provide and protect, I got to work. So that means I got to work day and night. I got to work weekends. I got to do double time. I got to do overtime and any other time that is given, because I need to bring home a larger paycheck so I can provide and protect. And so when you look at it from that perspective, again, it's just another one of those things that kind of lean into our experiences. And again, I want everybody just to consider it, right? I don't mean to put anybody on the spot. And if I'm asking a question, again, it's just because I want everybody else to get a more holistic picture of what victim mentality is all about. And I think it was Chris who said it is very dangerous. It is, I can't, and here's the fun, and it's not one of those things to where it is clinical, because I mean you're still functional. So when you look at it from that perspective, man, it just kind of brings a lot to the table. Let me see. Cassandra said she experienced a victim mentality similar to Roland. It wasn't divorce, but after the breakup with her children's father. Yeah, it's a form of trauma, and we got to realize, our ability to deal and manage trauma. I'm sorry about that. Our ability to deal and manage and learn from the trauma is our responsibility. We can't put it on someone else. Let me see. She later goes on and say our community never really had a family structure. It became a norm. I got you, Roland. It became a norm early in our culture that a strong family was broken because of slavery model and what we went through as people. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, because when I read that, I was like, "Whoa, that's it's true." Well, it's not a never really had. It's a they made sure with
It's
the
been diminished.
separation of the yeah, they made sure that with the separate, it's the same thing we do in the military when we catch somebody. It's I can't remember because it's been 20 years since I was in, but it's what you got to separate them. What's it called? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the
Yeah,
acronym,
you
but
got to
you
separate
separate
them.
the leader for, yeah, you
Yeah,
separate
you
them
got
by
to
rank.
separate them,
Right.
and that's what they did with the family structure, and that's what they continue to do with everything that they pushed forward that said was good for us and made us think we needed, whether it was welfare or HUD or any of those things. Remember, that, and all those things they make the women turn their backs on the men. So when you turn your back on the men, you automatically damage the family structure for years to come. Not just that family, but the families to come out of those families.
Big facts. Did y'all hear when Roland made his point? It was a ding. Did y'all hear that? It was like message. I mean, but he's spot on. Absolutely. Go ahead, brother.
No, I wanted to jump in there because there was a small point of time in history, right? Uh, and I don't know exact years. I won't throw out years, but after emancipation, families began to rebuild. We had neighborhoods that began to build, and then even in the face of us not being allotted the opportunity to do fair business and trade with white companies, right? They can discriminate as we built our own companies, we built our own banks, we built our own communities. And there is about a 70 to 80 year span of history that is not written on or not told. I'm glad that we decided to recognize Black Wall Street, but it's about 12, 13 of those communities that we
Even
never heard of.
as you say, Black Wall Street. See, they talk about Black Wall Street being destroyed, but Black Wall
Yeah,
Street was rebuilt better.
yes,
But what happens is when they say, okay, y'all built it better, instead of just burning it down, we're gonna give you our programs.
yep,
And when with integration, and I ain't,
hmm
we're here now, but with integration came
yeah,
you assimilating. So now
yes,
you stop supporting you, just like we quick to go out and buy somebody else's clothes, somebody else's stuff. We buy all these Chinese people hair, Indian hair. We not in the hair business, but we are the hair business. We buy all these things, but then when somebody of our hue says, "Hey, I got a product," you trying to see the deals you're gonna get, but you're paying $500 for a pair of J's, but you don't want to pay $200 for these because we are conditioned to not support the people that look like us.
100%.
These guys, as you guys see, they're on fire already. Listen, we just want to say welcome to everybody. I want to send a special shout out to Miss Charlotte Jordan. We always love when she's in the building. She
Mom.
was our winner from last week, functioning and dysfunction. So she got her prize, and I prayed that it served her well and she enjoyed it. So thank you for everybody who participated, and just keep listening periodically. I like to give stuff away. Continuing in this conversation, Lisa Key said victim mentality as a child was a learned behavior. I can definitely agree with that. And that's kind of like what you hear these gentlemen are bringing to the forefront as we dive into this conversation. So this is kind of like Michelle made a comment earlier, and I asked her to define it. She started off, she said first that she experienced a victim mentality as an adolescent and while serving in the army. Since we touched on the serving in the army piece, I asked her to define the adolescent piece in the chat. And she said, from the age of 13 to 18, I experienced a plethora of emotional and physical abuse, and I wanted to stay broken because I didn't know anything about having a victim mentality. Oh man, that is good. That is a good point.
She
Doc,
just spoke my life.
Doc, do you know how many people I know that I pray for because they don't know how to function outside of that dysfunction.
Hmm.
There are people, and I don't want to call my sister out, but one of my sisters, it's hard sometimes for me to even have a conversation with her because she has to have that chaos from our childhood in her life, and so her kids are reliving our trauma because that's the only way she knows how to operate. She wouldn't wake up in the morning if she had it good. I it's hard to explain that, Doc. But she triggered that when she said that.
That's why I said the victim mentality is a scary place to be. You just gave us a story about your sister not wanting to do better because she's been in that same mentality of where she was. Do you see? Oh my, it's dangerous to be there. It's
But
dangerous to be there.
but it's worse than that. It's not that she don't want to do better. I really think that she wants to do better, but she subconsciously she recreates her her situation over and over again because she can't operate
Because that's
outside of
all
that.
she knows, and
It's-
she ain't seen nothing else, and anything different is terrifying to her. That's how dangerous the victim mentality is. The good stuff is terrifying to you, so you never do it because you don't feel like you supposed to do it. You don't feel like you're the guy or you're the girl that's meant to have that. So you just stop.
That being a person from Detroit, everybody know the movie 8 Mile, and everybody knows 8 Mile, but 8 Mile is a border. 8 Mile is where if you go cross 8 Mile, you leave the city. But I know my family, and my family will within those 200 and whatever 50 something miles, square miles of Detroit, you can do whatever you want. You cross 8 Mile, you can't do that. You cross 8 Mile, you can't buy malt liquor. You cross 8 Mile, you don't see the signs and all this other stuff. But one thing, like I know people they'll drink and drive unless they got to go cross 8 Mile. And what that is that's a mental prison saying stay in your lane, do all that damaging stuff to your people here. Don't come bring it across here. And that's how we are. And growing up, I was a person, I blamed the white man. I blame the white man for everything. Because I grew up in an area that was largely populated by Muslims and the Nation of Islam and so forth and so on. So you have a lot of people coming back from jail, and then they telling you things like, man, if the white man wouldn't keep us down, but I'm like, yeah, well, if you would have just went to school, if you would have just did this. So you can't really see the confines that you're in until you get out. That's why I make sure, hey, we going here, we going there. Oh, you going to a museum. That's why I always say expose your children to many things and let them choose,
Right.
because you never know what their passion is outside of basketball and all that other stuff that we limit ourselves
All great points, and I definitely appreciate you guys sharing that. Listen, I want to make sure I acknowledge some people in the chat because I think I missed you, so I apologize. Don't dislike me for it. Just these guys are on fire already. Sharina, welcome to the show. It's always great to see you. Antoine, man, good to see you, brother. Always good to have you on. Miss Charlotte, I apologize. I didn't mean to put you on front street. I just believe in giving people their flowers now. So again, I just want to, lift you up and celebrate you for that small moment. But I'll be quiet. I won't call you out no more. But again, we appreciate you. Definitely appreciate you. Let me see. Let me back up. I think. So Lisa says a house divided cannot stand. This principle is loaded with how important it is to be on one accord. Definitely, I agree with that 100%. Um, I think she was talking, Chris. I think she was talking about what you mentioned earlier, where she said that's considered fear. Um, Michelle said, Brother Timothy, being in an environment is conducive to what you desire. What you desire, don't desire to change. Outstanding. And Miss Jordan says most people don't know how to deal with their childhood trauma. So it's always present mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Absolutely. All great points. So now that we've kind of went down that conversation, a great conversation, by the way. But now that we've kind of went down this conversation as it relates to our, reflection and talking about our own experiences, we're going to kind of break this thing down because I want to take the victim mentality, and compare it to kind of like what these gentlemen already started talking about, how it manifests itself in modern day life. So, first and foremost, every child, I believe, is a dreamer until somebody tell them that you cannot dream any longer. So, gentlemen, how does the victim mentality affect an individual in pursuit of their dream?
If you are not, if you don't have a certain level of accountability and you blame everybody for everything that does not go right in your life, you would never have a certain level of success. So that right there. So if you have a dream and you're like, you know what, I want to be the president of the United States. But if all your life you hear is, man, black man will never be the president of the United States. You need to go do something else. You know what I mean? What if your dream is to be an astronaut or to be a Navy SEAL or to be a public speaker or an influencer? Well, if all you have is, well, I'll never be able to do it because I'm short. I'll never be able to do it because I'm not white. I'll never be able to do it because of this. And you always feeling like a victim, you would never have it. You would never achieve your dream because you have no accountability, because you blame everybody else instead of yourself. And as long as you blame other people, man, that means you take the responsibility off of yourself. Now you have zero responsibility to change, to adjust, to do anything in your life because you're living in a victim mentality type mindset, and you'll never get your dream. So that is one way how I think that the victim mentality affects people achieving their dreams.
And with the removal of self responsibility, it actually gives them an out. It makes them feel good about, or not feel a way about achieving their dreams because they can blame it on somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I
I,
didn't I couldn't get up this morning, even simple stuff. And this ain't, this ain't even on the victim mentality level, but even just taking the responsibility off of yourself when you say, oh, somebody say, hey, I need to get up and work out, man. It's like, man, I can't get up in the morning to work out. Like already just that something that small, that ain't a victim mentality, but that's something that's so small that people that get stuck on it, they can't get out of it. They won't be able to achieve certain dreams in life.
I look at it a slightly different way, not not in disagreement with anything y'all saying, but I look at the victim mentality or not even at the dream concept differently, right? I feel like our dreams are conditional to our condition, right? A lot of times. Let me say that a lot of times, because there's always exceptions to the rules. Um, but I think a lot of times our dreams are also attached to an alternative outcome that we desire, right? I wanted to be a ball player because I couldn't write rhymes, right? So I wasn't a good rapper. So I wanted to be a ball player because I wanted to because the only way black people can get rich in my neighborhood was playing ball or rapping, right? So my dream was, and to be honest with you, my dream wasn't to be a ball player. My dream was to be an R&B singer. Let's just be 100 with it. Uh, 'cause, I'm throwing
Who's
stuff
your
out there,
favorite
but
R&B singer?
Keith Sweat.
Keith Sweat, the whiny guy. Come on,
Oh
man. Don't say Keith
Jesus
Sweat.
Can't you see it
H.
on him? He
yeah,
looked like a Keith Sweat fan.
and first of all, it was Boys to Men. I grew up in the '90s.
Okay, I'll give you that
But
one.
if I
I
but if I
thought you were
had
gonna
to
say
choose,
D'Angelo.
what? The- the- Never mind.
The
I was about
king
to
of
do a
R&B
50.
is R. Kelly. But I'm gonna
I,
say that and then we gonna cut this out.
hey, yeah, let's
And
leave
it's
that. Let's,
secular.
let's cut that out. Hey, but real talk, being the kid in the '90s, it was Usher after that My Way album. But he was a G to me growing up.
I'll give you that one.
But it was conditional to the idea of I wanted to not be in the condition that I was in. I wanted my family to be better, and the only way that could be better, because I didn't know no. Well, I knew some black police officers, but my brothers called them sellouts. I didn't know no black lawyers. I didn't know. You get what I'm saying? So my dream was conditional. The real dream was the goal of being successful and sustainable and being able to take care of my family and not have to live in the projects to do so. Right? That was my overall goal. And so for me, when we talk about the victim mentality uh, affecting me achieving my dream, the reality is I think sometimes when you look at why you dream what you dream, it makes you understand a little bit different, and then you have to remove yourself from being a victim because if I be wholehearted, I tell people all the time I rock, with Kyrie and for standing out and being different and standing on what he stands on. But at the end of the day, if I want that man's money in my pocket, he sets the conditions. And I think in this new wave of thinking, a lot of times we put ourselves in a victim mentality because we think they're holding us back because they don't want me to speak my mind. Well, you want him to pay you $120 million. That's a lot of money to anybody. Then there's some conditions he sets. It's his $120 million. And so therefore I'm not choosing sides, right, wrong, or different. But if your goal is to be a basketball player, there are some conditions. If I want to show up to your dance, I got to dance by your rules. And until we are able or willing to step out and say, well, I can make money not dancing at their dance. I put on my own dance. Then I can set the rules. So, but I leave that alone. I see I'm on one set of dynamics, man. I got to get off. I got to get.
You good, man. You good. Chris, what you got, brother?
I have to piggyback off what everybody else said, especially Garfield, about the self-responsibility aspect being removed from people not being able to achieve their dreams because they think that they can blame it on somebody else that's holding them back when really it's them. I think I think the more we talk, the more I'm starting to realize that the opposite of the victim mentality is personal responsibility. They're direct polar opposites. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.
You may
So
not be
wait,
far from the truth.
well, so I don't think he's far from the truth at all. In fact, I think he's spot on. Um, I kind of want to set the conditions like this, and I kind of gave a lead into this because I wanted to make sure that we understand the dynamics. So when we went through functioning in dysfunction, one of the things that we stressed is how influential the parent is throughout the entire process. The parent is influential in the child's life. The parent is influential when the child start getting into a relationship. The parent is influential when the child becomes an adult. When it comes down to children, children do not have any limitations on their dreams. Those limitations starts to take shape as their environment start to become fully realized to them. So then they start to accept some of the things that is actually being shown to them, accept some of the things that's actually being said to them. And I kind of gave an example when we started talking about our reflections earlier, right? But here's the other thing I want to kind of bring to the table, because spiritual law and universal law must prevail. I think that's one of the things that we don't really think about a lot in the midst of parenting, right? Spiritual law and universal law must prevail. So why do I bring that to the table? Because we hear people talk about energy all the time, right? So energy is a facet of universal law. Well, under energy, we also have what we call the law of attraction. And you hear me talk about the law of attraction when I do a dream manifestation with Tanisha Bowman. However, under that entire concept is also what is called the law of assumption, which simply mean that it must work. I don't care what I'm thinking about. Even if I have no factual data to support what it is I'm thinking, if I am thinking something that could possibly happen, then chances are that it can actually happen and I bring it into fruition with my thoughts. So we need to understand that the minute that I reduce my dreams, I think it was Garfield that mentioned, well, I'm sorry, I think it was Swami that mentioned that. When I reduce my dreams from being a basketball player to being, I want to go work, I want to be, I don't know, a lawyer or whatever. And then I reduce it from being a lawyer, I just want to be a general manager at the local Dollar Tree. And then I reduce it from being a general manager to be, look, man, I'm just happy to be alive. Guess what? Then I can in some shape, form, or fashion find happiness into being alive. And so when it comes down to how the victim mentality, again, going back to what I said previously, you can't do that. What makes you think who do you think you are? Like, what makes you think why do you in the younger generation think you're better than our generation to where you can achieve X amount of money at such a young age? And it took us all this time to get here. Like really, who gave you permission to do that? And I think a lot of times that's what actually happens. And I don't mean to say it in such a direct and forceful way, but I think a lot of time that's how it comes about. Instead of being on the other side, like whatever it is they're dreaming, why not be an advocate for that dream? If my child tell me at the age of 3, you want to be an astronaut, guess what I'm about to go do? I'm about to go to the local Toys of Us. I'm about to buy astronaut Legos. I'm about to buy astronaut puzzles. I'm about to buy everything that has an astronaut because I don't want them to lose that dream. And so I think that's the thing. Parents are the gateway to the dreams that the children have. That dream may change. It's okay. But let it change in the mind of that child, because at a certain point they realize that, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do this. Then ask them why. Why did you change? Well, because I realized that this, because you might find out, well, I don't know a lot of black astronauts. That's okay. That does not mean that you can't be one of the few. So they kind of need you to speak into that and help them hold on to that dream, because you don't know that dream was probably given to them. Well, that dream was given to them at such a young age, and that dream probably came from the author of dreams. And I'm gonna leave that part at that. Um, all great points, and man, you guys are killing it in the chats, man. I want to make sure I catch everything that you're saying. Um, hey, Queen V, how you doing? Always good to see you. Our dreams are, I think she meant, are a gift to us. Negative people will try to abort your dreams, which is why we must be mindful who we share. Oh man, that's a good one.
I was just about to address that.
Go ahead, sir. You have the
Because you
floor.
said something that made a lot of sense, and something that these kids need that we never had, which is somebody that'll actually push their dreams instead of putting their limited mind on them and discouraging them from achieving them. We never had that coming up. We were always victims of our environment. You can't do that. What makes you think you can do that? Instead of saying, okay, you want to do that? Let's make it happen. Let's figure this out. It's like they want you to stay where they are because you doing better than them is terrifying to them. Deion Sanders said it best. Don't let my success activate your insecurities. And I think that might be another version of passed down victim mentality. When the person you share your dream to is telling you that you can't do it because they can't see themselves doing it. So since
And
they can't see themselves doing it, they put that limitation on you, or they think that you just might pull it off and you're gonna be better than them. So they got to stop that from happening at all costs because they need you to be theirs because they're comfortable with you there.
see, and
See,
sometimes
my bad. Go ahead.
sometimes it's not only that, because that is a piece of it, but sometimes you can't expect intelligent uh intelligent reactions, intelligent influence, intelligent anything from unintelligent people. And I'm not saying intelligent as in unintelligent as in stupid, but you have to have some type of intellect to dive into what I'm trying to move to. And if you don't have it, there's no need for you offering advice, because this is out of your scope. It's out of my scope, but it's what I want. So I have to reach out to somebody who can give me advice that where I can attain what I'm trying to get to, because all you can give me is doubt. And usually the doubt is self-doubt because you know you can attain
Mm.
And what I don't want to do is kind of reverse the victim mentality by switching blame, right? Uh, because when I look back on it as a young man, looking at the generations before me, right? What I've realized they were doing is that they transferred their, like, just like what he said, their victim mentality over because they discredit what they were doing, right? Our ancestors kicked down the doors for us to have our opportunities. And when Coach said something earlier, said to the younger generation, make you think you can make all this money quick because our generation, and I know when I turned 25, they decided to put me in the millennial generation. But when I grew up, I was X. I'm gonna be X today, right? Uh, but Generation X came through kicking open the door, talking about we belong here. You're gonna treat me like we belong here. As a matter of fact, I watched my older siblings and my parents sit on jobs that they weren't wanted at, and they dealt with the discomfort of being discriminated with, so that I didn't deal with it later. But what happened is they forgot the work they put in, and it's the reason why I can dream. And when we stop pushing off the history of what our ancestors did to make it for us and started pushing on what everyone did to keep us out. And that's where it has our dreams have been stifled at. And for those and for us, and I'm saying this because y'all know my age. I'm speaking for y'all. So for us who 40 and up, you know, has to be able to look at the work that you have put in, the suffrage y'all have done, because y'all dealt with a lot more discrimination in the military than I did. When I came in, y'all was about done, right? And when I came in, I dealt with a lot less. There were black leaders in the military and Hispanic leaders in the military who reassured me that I can move comfortably as a soldier because y'all endured it and y'all let them know, hey, we kick butt. We do this and we do this well, and you're gonna respect who we are and our right to stand here and be this. But
I'm listening to you, and I like where you're going because I remember as a young buck sergeant, I was in that window. I was contemplating getting out the army, and one of my NCOs he asked me. He said, "Why are you getting out?" And I said, "Because I don't like the leadership that we have. I think the leadership is toxic. I think they're terrible. I think at the end of the day, the only reason we follow them is because they make more money than what we do. I think they can't lead themselves out of a brown paper bag." He told me, he said, "Well, getting out is the wrong thing to do." He said, "If you don't like the leader," he said, "get promoted and become the leader." I say that because when I look at, you know, the boomers, right, the baby boomers, I don't necessarily fault them for anything, to be honest with you. Of course, in every generation, Uncle Junior, we talked about this last, right? In every generation, you have degrees of separation. but we cannot fault them for anything that we're experiencing. That's the same thing that we're trying to tell the younger generation, right? So whatever they went through, I thank them, because one thing and I'll talk about my mother for a quick minute. One thing that I know she did is she shielded me from a lot of the things that she had to experience, but she also shared some of those things with me. And I think she kind of found the perfect balance. She didn't give me all the smoke, right? But she gave me some of it. And some of it made me put me in the mindset to where, you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't want to go, because this was during the factory age. I don't want to go to the factory and work 8 hours a day, come home tired, just so I can wake up the next day and go do that again. So when I look at stuff like that, I look at our generation as the ones who bridge the gap. Like, we are the ones who, like, we still remember a rotary cell phone, the long cord that you pulled from the kitchen and went around the room. You talked to your girlfriend because you didn't want your mama hearing you in the kitchen, right? So we were that generation. But we also see the progression of the bag, the car phone. Then it went from the car phone to the flip phone, then from the flip phone to our smartphone, right? I'm sorry, the Palm Pilots, then the smartphone. So we were that generation that went from analog into the digital age. So I think we're in a unique position because we can bridge the gap. Don't blame our elders. You see what I'm saying? We got to tell again, don't blame our elders, but we got to get in the middle and say, okay, we did some things wrong, younger generation, right? So now what we should do is we should be their advocates. We should empower them to dream the highest of the dreams that they can get. And here's the other part to it. If their dreams start to wane, we go behind them and boost them up. You'll find that also with Jethro and Moses, right? What is this thing you do? Come, let me counsel you, and I will come and I will counsel you. That way you can, well, for the lack of better terms, do it the right way. And through that conversation, what you found is that Moses continued doing what he was doing, but he started delegating, and he only took on the most important conversations at that particular point in time. I think that's where we are in our generation. We have to realize that we're, like I said last night, Uncle Junior, we're not the Michael Jordans anymore, right? We're not taking the game winning shots anymore. We're the assist man now, bro. That's what we do. And I think what we should do based upon that, I see you, Chris. Give me 2 seconds. I think what we should do from that is recognize where we are in this society and be okay by lifting them up. Go ahead, sir.
That's why I said when we were talking about what the elders can do, what you just described is a facilitator. It's a facilitator. This is the LeBron James generation right now. We started out strong, jumping out the gym, but now look at what he's doing. He's making everybody else around him better by passing the ball more. He's a facilitator. That's
Right.
the role that we need to play.
Absolutely. I love it. Listen, again, I want to make sure I tell everybody, man, we appreciate you guys. Shout out. Welcome to the show. Again, I want to make sure that I give your comments value. So make sure that you continue putting them in there, and I will continue putting them up. Antoine Christopher, good to see you, sir. I love the fact that you call rolling down the hill, by the way. I just want to make sure I say that. That just means he's older. So so yeah, absolutely.
Going by age.
Going by
I
age,
was
absolutely.
going by
Listen,
age, he's rolling up the hill.
rolling up the hill. There you go. Hey, listen, I want everybody to go ahead and just hit the like button real quick, wherever you are, whatever it is you're doing. If you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, Twitter, on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button, because the algorithm likes it when you do so. And as we continue this conversation of the victim mentality, we're going to dive into the aspect of relationships. Gentlemen, how does the victim mentality influences relationships?
Can I address
Oh,
a
shoot.
question?
Let me mute my mic.
Wait, what I missed?
No, it's nothing. Antoine has a question.
Wait. My question is, how long is the black community going to use the past of the? Okay, go ahead.
When it comes to the question or the statement about how long can you allow the past to as an excuse, you can't use it as an excuse when it's still a reality, because the past is still relevant today. And they may not use the same tactics or whatever, but you still have to observe what's going on around you. And we know that every facet of life in America was built to sustain a certain people. That's a given. And it still is. So where you live, where you bank, what you do, when you move, that's why we still see every morning I wake up, I see videos of police officers pulling over people of color, and because or this morning, no, my sister sent me one where this gentleman, he called the police, but he ended up being tased and ended up dying. It's situations like that where if I'm walking, like I'm a avid gun carrier. If I'm walking out here and I got an AK walking up the street, they gonna come to me with guns blazing. But somebody else, they gonna have conversation. And it's things like that. When you have a fear of a person's color because what technology and media, they portray me as this demonized person on TV and everything else, and all the music portray me as that. They portray our women as hoes and bees and this, that, and the other. Society gonna look at you a certain way. So as long as society looks at me that way, I have to use it not as an excuse, but as a reality of the things that can and still try to hold me back. Now I don't use it as a crutch, but I know that it's there.
Absolutely.
And
Great response. I thank you for addressing that, Roland. Again, every problem solving model starts off with clearly defining the problem. And so that kind of goes back to what he said. But I want to keep this show moving forward. And so, with that being said, the victimhood mentality as it relates to relationship. Gentlemen, how does the victimhood mentality influences relationships?
Kind of makes you feel like you're not worth a good partner. You can have the best person around you. You can have the best person in front of you. He or she could be everything that you've ever wanted. But since there isn't a level of drama attached to it that you've been accustomed to all your life, you feel like it's a bad thing. So you sabotage your way out of it. And then you back to doing what you were doing when you were miserable. That's what the victim mentality does to relationships. It's trash. And I'm speaking from experience. I've done this. It's trash. Some, like I said, man, it's all about personal responsibility, man. You just have to come to a point where you say, all right, all of this happened. I'm the common denominator because it all happened to me, whether it's direct or indirect. I can't change it. It's in the past. I got a whole future in front of me. Let's move on.
Yeah. And a lot of times what you're dealing with a person with a victim mentality in a relationship, sometimes you have to remove yourself to save yourself. Because if you are in a relationship with somebody who you realize they can't move forward, they won't move forward because their situations and everything else is going to hold them back. Their mentality is so limited and it's limiting them from being happy. And misery loves company. And when they get in that state, that's why I don't look at negative things when I wake up in the morning. I'm straight positive. I'm trying to be positive, 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 because that sets how my day is going. So I don't even want to be around people. You negative. Oh, I got to go to work. It's Monday again. Yeah, you knew yesterday was going to be Monday. That's just me.
What else, gents?
I would say it like this: like when you're dealing with the victim mentality in relationships, is kind of the same conversation of bringing trauma into relationships. Is because all your past relationships failed because this person did this person did that, and this person did this. Even though I had 12 failed relationships, I'm not the common denominator. All 12 of them are, right? What happens is when you finally get into a relationship, the way Chris explained it, you found a person you like that does everything the way you want, and because you are always playing this victim mentality, you're expecting or you're waiting on them. They never get the best version of you because you're waiting on them to fail you. Because all my relationships failed because of everybody else. I'm just waiting for you to make the next mistake. Why you take your phone to the bathroom? Because it's a smartphone and I like to play on my apps. And but who you talking to? Why you gotta walk out? Because you watching TV and my mama called. Like that's why I walked down. But they don't because of that victim mentality, it denies a space for a healthy relationship.
Mm. That's sir. I got you. That was good. I like that. Uncle Junior, what you got, sir?
I think it affects it affects your ability to trust people
Hmm.
in relationships. And Roland kind of talked about it, how back in the day is we working together, but I don't really trust white people because of X, Y, and Z, or these different things like that. So I think some of it is trust, because when you grow up with a victim mentality or whatever like that, and you think that everybody or the man or whoever is out to get you, then you may have someone in your circle, someone who may be a good person, but you will automatically neglect them or shun them just because you don't trust them, just because of the color of their skin. You know what I mean? It works both ways. You know what I mean? And I know early on, I was, there was me in high school. I went through a little bit of that too. And it caused me to not trust certain people just based off of what someone had said, what had been taught or passed down from different things that I was heard. I don't think I didn't get that at home. I didn't get the victim mentality from home at all. We was raised in the church and stuff like that. And it was love everybody and different things like that. But man, victim mentality can screw up some relationships, because like I said, if you don't trust somebody right off the bat just because they look a different way, because you feel that all people are a certain way, then you're asking for a disaster, and you're asking to not have a lot of great relationships.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with everything that you guys are saying, and I love where young Timothy went just now, because the victimhood mentality automatically has a person wired for cynicism. Like they will literally look for the wrong side of the information that they get. Like you said, you take your cell phone to the bathroom, you're probably going to play a game or something of that nature, right? But their thoughts, oh, you're going to text a girl or something of that. Like the worst case scenario is always the thing that's at the forefront of their mind. So the victimhood mentality will automatically have them to look at a situation with very little evidence that supports the thought that they're having, but they're going to be hurt based upon something that you have not even done yet. And that's the dangers of the victimhood mentality in relation to relationships. But here's the question I want to pose real quick, because it's two people in a relationship, correct? And if I have the victim mentality, right, and I'm in a relationship with somebody, how in the world, and you guys can kind of help me out with this, how in the world is that relationship going to thrive if I am consistently adding toxicity to the environment?
What
It won't.
relationship?
It won't. It will die. And it will die painfully, and it will die slowly, because even though you in this victim mentality, you still want to hold on to this person, and you think that this person is just going to stick around just because they said they liked you once.
I was a
Soon,
lifeguard, and as a lifeguard, they teach you when you come up to a person, you don't just try to come up and hold them up above the water because they will pull you under. What you do is you allow them to go under. You allow them, like, because and then what happens if they grab you, you go under because they want to survive more than they want to die. So they will come up. But you sometimes victims will try to pull you down to their level or their way of seeing things. What you have to do in that instance is, if you're not just cutting them off, if you're trying to stay in that relationship, you have to show them who they are or what they're showing you. Because sometimes they won't see it as negativity, or they won't see it as damaging the relationship. But when you expose it to them and give it, it's like a baby. A baby knows when they poop, they don't even want it on them. They like, no, take it off. Gaddy, you know about this. They like take it off. Sometimes you got to give them a dose of their own stuff and let them see where they are and what they're giving you.
I think it also affects relationships and the ability to resolve conflicts, because you always see her as the problem. So as long as you always seeing her as the problem, then it's my wife's fault. It's her fault all the time. It's her. So you never accept any responsibility for yourself. Huge problem, and that works both ways.
But
But I know I went through that. I thought, like, Rowan talking about the divorce, that was like everything was her fault. It's her fault. She don't want to do this for the kids. She don't want to do this. She don't want to do this. Like, bro, what did you do? What did you call? Would you have wanted to be married to you? So different things like that. And
I feel like you're not listening to me.
Don't manipulate me like that.
What,
Don't
what
do
do you
that.
mean, sir? What do you mean, sir?
Don't do that. I'm listening. I'm listening very, very well. I'm just not diving down this rabbit hole you want me to go. That's how we need to address that. This is the behavior that I see. You might not see it, but I do. This relationship is this behavior is a detriment to the relationship. I haven't done anything to cause you to feel this way. You just feel this way. I need to know why. Let's deal with it. Because if we don't deal with this whole relationship is going to be a problem. And I don't want to deal with that.
5 stars
a
for you. Go ahead.
I'm a respond the way I was taught in like a relationship communication class in the military. The chaplains did those exercises, and here's how I would have responded. What I hear you say is you do not like the way I responded to what you said, because you saying I'm not listening to you. You feel like I'm not listening to you. The problem is I didn't respond the way you wanted me to. That's what I heard you just say to me. And because I didn't respond the way you wanted me to, now you're using your feelings to manipulate my emotions to make me change my response. And I've refused.
But hold on now. I'm not getting this. This is not making sense to me, gentlemen. Why is my emotions considered to be manipulation?
When it's used as a weapon to change my response,
Or a motive to
then it's
deflect
manipulation.
personal responsibility.
Hmm.
Or, some folks, they may get hyper. I'm a person, I keep it calm. I'm not gonna go up, I'm not going down, I'm gonna stay even keel. You can be all over. And I tell you, when you get finished, come holler at me. But I'm not about to go there with you, because when we go there, it's a combative state, and I don't want to do that. And if you want to yell, I'm gonna wait. This matter of fact, I learned this right here in anger management. I think the third go round. I learned put your hands together, because this keep you from slapping folks. Put your hands together, and I sit there and just sit there. Like, and see,
Oh my goodness.
what people don't like is when you don't match energies, they feel like they're being dismissed.
That's because they
I'm
are.
not
been
it's not that you're
disarmed.
dismissing. I'm dismissing your behavior. And that's why when you're emotional,
Disarmed.
Yeah, I
Right.
like
Yeah.
what you said.
That's when the tears come.
I don't
Disarmed.
care
Yep.
about
That's
your
when the manipulating
tears.
tears come.
I don't care about your boo-hoos. I
Then
don't
you
care
don't care
about
about me.
your running. Hey, it is what it is.
You hear him?
then.
You don't care about
But
him
that's
because
a-
you don't care about the tears.
Right. But
Mhm.
see, here's the thing though. I do care about you. I care about you enough to let you know that there's a specific behavior that you are doing that's causing this relationship some type of turmoil, and I want to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. But you're not about to throw no childlike temper tantrum to try to get me to back down, because it's not happening. I will laugh in your face.
So what I hear you saying is, as a father, I need to make sure that I'm not running or giving my daughter the false sense of security that her tears means my immediate reaction.
Yep.
Roll
Because
that, daughters.
because
Only
only
that
you
daughter.
because only you
Game
are
coach.
going to react like that. Only you are going to react like that. These men out here, they not your dad. They don't care.
See,
You
this
could
is
run
where I
and cry
like
to
to.
me.
I'll hold off on that part, coach.
This is yeah. This
I'm just saying.
this is why
And
I
this is
love
me
these
speaking.
gentlemen.
And this is me. This is coming from a dude who speaks to the fellas, who actually talks to them. They don't care. You're not about to emotionally manipulate me. I've seen it before. My mom used to do this to me. My aunt used to do this to me. My cousins used to do this to me. I've seen this before. And I got to put up with them because they're related to me. You need a level 2 when you dealing with me. You need a level 2 because I don't because you're just a girl to me. Those are family. You're just a woman to me. You're not. I bring you in. You're not attached to me. So don't try to use that as a form of manipulation to try to get me to back down or simp up. No, I'm not having it. And it's because if I do that, then she's going to think that that is going to always get her way even when she's wrong. And we can't be like that anymore. Just like with our daughters, we can't be well, y'all daughters, because I ain't got no kids. But just like with them, we have you have to be like that because there's going to come a point in time where even men and women both there you're going to have to accept some type of personal responsibility for what you did. And you can't run to daddy or granddaddy or uncle to absolve yourself of the accountability that you need to face when you dealing with your man. No.
I like it. I like it. And this is I did that intentionally, by the way. Um, and you guys responded, perfectly in your own rights. I want to say this, and hopefully this will make it make sense. Your emotions are not reality. Right. I want to stress that everybody has their experiences, and once we use our experiences against another person, that is wrong. That is in error. Let's be completely transparent. Another person really don't care about your experiences. Your experiences only matter to you because your experiences were created for you to learn from. So I should not use the experience or how I felt about the experience. What I need to use to my aid is the lesson that I learned from my experience. Your perception is rooted in your experience. And in some cases, it's how you felt about past experiences. That's where the victimhood mentality comes from. So when I attempt to use my emotions in a conversation that's not going my way, that is the very definition of manipulation. I can't stress that enough. Being in a relationship is a decision unless it's family. I'm going to say that again. Being in a relationship is a decision unless it's family. Dealing with someone else's trauma is a decision. That's all it is. And at some point, what we need to understand, my patience is mine to extend, not yours to request. When you look at it from that perspective, when you bring your emotions to the table and attempt to use your emotions as a means of gaining control of the discussion or the situation, you in turn are requesting my patience. And then you'll get mad at me because I refuse to extend my patience on something that is doing us zero good. Because once I lean into your emotions right now, we just created a new norm, and it will not be good for the relationship. It'll only be good for you. So that's why I did that, and these gentlemen responded perfectly. Some Chris might have been a little aggressive. That's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I
No,
think
man. F that. F that. F
Wolfpack.
that.
that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that,
But see,
right?
here's the thing though, and here's why I say it the way that I say it. It's because nobody is.
Right.
We're coddling these people. Stop.
Here's why I say what I say, and I want to be clear. When a person's emotions is up here, responding to them in a forceful manner never works. It never works. It
Oh,
only
I get
makes
what
them
you're
go
saying
over
when you
the
get
end.
that.
Yeah.
I don't do the
Yeah, I know.
arguing. I don't do the yelling and screaming. I do the this is what I see. When you're ready to talk about it, let's talk about it. But unless you're saying hi, don't hit me up unless you're ready to talk about it. Because we're not about to act like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. We're going to address this, especially if you say that you like me and I say that I like you and we're moving towards something. We're gonna fix this. It's either we
Absolutely.
fix this or it's either we fix this or we can't go forward.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with taking a time out. We can take a 10-minute time out, go get some water, walk around the house, go get some fresh air, and
Yeah, go
come
have a
back and
shot,
pick
you know.
right. And come back and pick up where we left out. Left
Major
off.
Payne said,
Uh-oh.
if you want to find sympathy, you can find it in a dictionary.
On that note, on that note, we're moving on. Victim mentality as when it relates to parenting. Listen, again, I want to make sure I addressed everybody. Thank you guys. I see the comments that you're making. I appreciate you. I am not ignoring you, I promise. But I want to make sure that I honor your time, and we are leaning into this conversation. So keep the comments coming. Greg, good to see you, brother. Welcome to the show. And listen, everybody, go ahead and hit the like, hit the share. If you haven't not subscribe to this channel, look in the bottom right hand of your screen. You'll see the icon. Click on that icon. You'll see the subscribe button. Go ahead and click on that subscription so you can be a part of the community as well. Gentlemen, victim mentality as it relates, and I use that word intentionally, to parenting.
I'll defer to y'all because I don't have any kids.
Very well.
I think it can go both ways. It could be parents. I know parents who play the victim to get sympathy from their children. So yeah, I know parents who play the victim when it comes to. Matter of fact, one of my favorite movies is The Exorcist. And part of I like scary movies. And part of The Exorcist, the demon shows the priest his grandmother, and she's saying, "Why you do this to me, Damie?" Because he felt guilty about putting her in the home. So in that she played on that with him in his mind. And sometimes when we don't give our parents what they want or what they expect from us as our parents, well, you supposed to do this. And you, my son, you my daughter, you supposed to give me this because I'm old and I raised you. It's like, yeah, but like me, I will not buy my mama cigarettes. Won't do it. Ain't gonna do it. I don't care how you say, well, you brought me in this world and all this other stuff. I'm not gonna do it because that part of her tears me down and it's a hurt for me. So I won't do it. And she knows this, but she'll play on other things where you'll do this and you'll do that, or bring up things that I've done that were similar in nature to her. So yeah, parents also do it, not just children.
You know what, Roland? I said I wasn't going to say anything, but you brought that up. Parents having the victim mentality when it comes to their children. I'm going to say this and I'm going to mean this. Mothers watching this chat, your child does not owe you anything. Let me repeat that. Your child does not owe you anything. The moment that child graced this earth and took their first breath, you owed the child the best possible life that you could give them because they did not ask to be here. Quit holding a decision that your child had absolutely no say so in over their head when it comes to you wanting something from them or wanting them to do something for you. And I'm going to shut up.
I felt like I should have had a gavel after he got finished and just hit the table.
Absolutely.
Especially since he started this segment with "I'm gonna defer to you guys."
Yeah.
It came out with a power blow.
Yeah.
But
I don't-
we do see that though. We see that all
Yeah.
the time. Well, you know, because I'm your mom, you got to do this for me. I was like, whoa.
Right. And I just wrote, they do owe honor and respect. I mean, you can't just willy-nilly think you just gonna live in my house and be crazy because you get put out real quick. But I understand what you're saying because they didn't ask to come here.
Roland,
And
I understand the whole living in my house aspect of it.
I'm not talking about the living in my house.
Hold
I'm talking
on.
about,
But you said we owe them honor and respect. And in
yes,
that same breath, you brought up them living in your house and being disrespectful. That part of it, I understand. You owe your parent that because you're staying in their house. But once I leave,
oh,
I don't
once you
owe you
leave,
nothing.
but once you leave, the honor never goes away.
But that's
Now,
still
if it's a dysfunctional relationship, then that's a whole other show. But what I'm saying is, in the normal multifaceted relationship. When you're looking at parent-child, my mother will never not be my mother, and I will never not treat her like she's my mother. Now, she may do some things where it makes me remove myself from what she's doing, but she will always be my mother.
I feel like that's a benefit from taking a responsibility of teaching you honor and respect.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
though
showing
yeah,
you the
what it
same,
looks like,
yeah.
because I can't disrespect my mama until my child will respect me. That's backwards. Uh, but whew, this conversation goes so many different ways. Y'all brothers on it, which y'all
But
left me know. Go ahead.
I want to just give an example. An example is when my mother was addicted. Father was addicted. My children, I would talk to them because if I'm taking them to see these people, they're gonna see they're like, whoa, what's going on here? So I got to teach them, hey, no, you always love your family, respect your family, but they've made decisions, and this is the plight that they have. So you don't disrespect them, but we don't live like that. We don't move like that. We don't do like that. So when they seen them, they can show them love and honor without diving into their lifestyles and such. But I think just because a person has demons, you don't disrespect them where they are, because they can be removed from that, and you can help them get past that by showing them that love. And that takes a damaged person, and a damaged person can only butt heads. But when you aren't damaged, you can say, man, I was like this, and I allowed you to bring me to your space. You can't allow them to take you to that space. So that's where, if you aren't there, you remove yourself. Say, I'm respecting you enough to not come in your space, because if I do, I'm gonna cuss you out. If I do, I'm gonna knock you out. If it's some things that I'm gonna do as a damaged person that I'm not as a whole.
Yeah, y'all remember back in the beginning where I said the spiritual law and universal law have to prevail?
Has to.
This is the perfect example of that. And it doesn't change. Like, you guys hear me talk about my mom all the time, but you know what my mother did when I was a kid? She taught me respect. She taught me to honor my grandparents. Therefore, and when I got older, I respect, well, not just when I got older, growing up, period. I respected my mother, I honored my mother and father, and I respected my grandparents. So this is why I am totally against the whole gentle parenting concept. Not saying that under the idea of gentle parenting, you can't teach honor and respect, but in most cases, you really don't. You teach liberation. And it's not that you're trying to confine the child or anything of that nature, but it's also you're teaching them that, listen, in life there are left and right limits when it comes down to certain things. You can't go too far to the left and you can't go too far to the right and always expect someone to exercise mercy. Doesn't work that way. So I
I,
get it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
and I was jumping right there where you were at, because it's like I remember one time me and Roland was talking about the misinterpretation of spare the rod, spoil the child. We automatically take it to beating and spanking or whooping the child. The idea is, like you're talking about, is the stern training, the not letting up on the standard. You know, someone said to me a long time ago, because I was like, "What's wrong with spoiling the child?" Because because I grew up wishing that I was spoiled. We were poor. We lived in and out of shelters. We singing on the train to get a dollar. But the reality about that is you're not gonna drink spoiled milk, but you're gonna send a spoiled child out into the world, right? But what happens when you spoil a child or create in the mindset of that child that they have their own autonomy in your life, in your space, then it creates an inability. Let's be honest. I just call it like it is. It creates an inability to have honor and respect at to a level. Because I can say, ma'am, sir, but be disrespectful of my actions. because I'm gonna get what I want out of this situation anyway, because that's my mindset.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
I didn't.
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm looking. I know we use the word honor. We use the word respect when it comes to our parents and stuff like this. So I looked up honor. The honor says high respect or great esteem. So if I'm looking at this, I'm looking at respect right here, and then I'm looking at honor as something that's above respect. Um, I don't think I owe my mom honor. That's just me personally. I do think that I owe her respect.
You know
I
she on here, right?
personally honor my mom, but I don't think that I personally honor my mom. You know what I mean? But I don't think that we should automatically um, hold our mom automatically just in a honor respect just because we were born. And here's what I mean. I didn't always honor my mom. I always respected my mom. Didn't always honor her. Um, for a lot of different things. A lot of them had to do with me. Some of them was based off of the lack of that she did not have, and the lack of and she didn't have to give to me, good, bad, or indifferent. As you see, I have a great relationship with my mom now. I honor my mom right now. So I don't think automatically, this is just my opinion. And this may be something, I was looking at Chris's face when Roland was saying stuff. And it's like it's more so it's like I don't necessarily have to honor her,
I was reading
not
the comment
necessarily
section.
me,
It
but
wasn't about rolling.
yeah, yeah.
I got what
Yeah,
you're
I
talking
get it,
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to honor somebody, but I think we do have to not be disrespectful. You know what I mean? Like, just because I got somebody in my family who may be on drugs, who may not be doing what they're supposed to do, because my aunt or whatever, who may be on drugs or something, I'm just speaking in general, is on drugs and she's 80 years old and she's living a bad life, where I'm still going to respect whatever she has to say. I'm not going to disrespect her. I'm not going to call her out of her name. And kind of like Roland said, if pretty much the shoe don't fit, then I'll keep it moving and I'll interact at holidays and certain things like this. But I probably won't have a relationship with you. So just looking at the definition, I don't feel or I don't think that we should automatically place somebody in an honor position just because they gave us life. And
Yeah.
that's just my personal opinion.
If I may, I think this is probably a topic of discussion that we probably need to bring to the table for a whole night. Because I need to keep moving forward because I want to make sure I'm honoring all these people's time. I don't want to disrespect them, but I really want us to answer this question, gentlemen. And unfortunately, I did you a great in service because of the time. So, as a father, how can I reconnect with my child, even though I feel he has been influenced by the negative teaching that painted me as the bad guy?
I will say this. Um, I wrote it down earlier. You can only do what you can do. If you are a father and you're on the outside and you're looking in, and even if you live in a different state, you can send a card every year on their birthday. You can send a Christmas card. You can send a card every single month, regardless of whether the child gets it or not. You can all thing you can really do is do your part. And that's all you can do as a father. You can keep trying to reach it out, you can keep trying to connect, all these different things like this. But in many cases, you may be at the mercy of the mother or the person who is in charge of the child. So um and as they get older, one of the things that's gonna happen is like I think honestly, children do, especially men. I think as we do grow up, there does come a turning point or a certain point in our life where men want to reach out and want to reconnect with their fathers. I think it's just something that just happens. I think that fathers, men in general, there's something that men can give each other that men can't get from women. And I think that some of the stuff that we can get from our father, we can't get from anybody else. And I think there comes a certain point in our life where we crave that and we want that and we look for a connection with our father. So I would say just keep pushing forward, do what you can, send the text messages, send the cards. If you don't get any of them, and then 20 years down the road, he reach out to you and you got a whole list of 20 years worth of files where you reached out and you tried to do your part. So, and if you don't want to be painted as a bad guy, like try to model a good role model, or try to model what you would like your son to look up to, or how you would want your son to be?
I, I know when we talked about this, I said I'm gonna be silent at this point, and I'm gonna go back to silence. I just want to jump in it because though I agree with what you said, but I've also saw the exception to the rule, what makes this question very prevalent. I know a person. I don't know if they ever come across this video, so I keep names out of it, right? I know a person that one day we was at a friend house. I'm trying to figure out a way to say it properly. One day we was at a friend house and we were talking, and in our conversation, a group of us were talking about how, we're talking to some of the women that was at the get together. We in the military, right, at the time in Hawaii. And we made the statement, hey, listen, at the end of the day, a man can't teach a man. I mean, a woman can't teach a man how to be a man. She could do the best she can do. She could raise him up. But there's some things that he needs to be around a man to get, right? You know, without getting into the deep depths of that conversation, one person there that I know well who was raised by his mother, who only knew his father through the lens of his mother. The only thing whenever he speaks of his father, is only in the idea of him beating up this man or murdering this man that he does not know because of the picture his mother painted. So he immediately gets mad in this conversation and begins to raise his voice. The idea that if I'm the loudest, I'm right, right? Because he could not see himself as not a man. He thought his mother made the perfect man. So because he could not own up to his own shortcomings as a man, and I'm not going to throw his business out there because there's some skeletons, boy. And it has to deal with he does not know how to function as a man, especially with women. You get what I'm saying? And he doesn't know that because he was never taught how to be a man in a relationship. So this question right here becomes very important because I watched a grown man almost have a meltdown because I told him a woman couldn't teach him how to be a man. Therefore, it meant to him he wasn't a man.
As far as this question, what can you do? Be consistent. Because inconsistency will continue to build up whatever thoughts that child has. Negative, can't be too many positive because you aren't there. But negative thoughts is inconsistency with you not being there, with you not contacting. I was, when my daughters were of age to have their own phones, I made sure they had phones. That way I ain't got to call nobody else to talk to them. I can contact straight through. So there's no whatever. And I'm not responsible for the other person's dialogue. I'm not responsible for what they tell the child. But if I'm consistent and I'm honest to a point where I'm not bashing the other parent, but I'm telling my side where I am, where I was damaged in the relationship, to where I didn't communicate things right and I didn't do. I always take the onus and responsibility. I'm not going to talk about nobody's mother, but I'm going to say my part. This is what happened. This is what I did. Your mama, she was da-da-da-da-da. Nope, not going there. I'm accepting my responsibility and I'm moving forward. And I'm going to try to be consistent, whether it be calls, texts, or whatever. That's what we got to do. And parents, we got to work together on that because we damage children, and damaged children grow up to be damaged adults.
I like it.
I'm going to point blank this, and I'm going to point blank this as a product of a single mom who wants to reach out to his father, and as a product of a single mom how I would want my father to reach out to me. Grow some balls, pick up the phone, say, son, whenever you're ready, let's talk. And as a son, And this is the difficult part, because this is a lot of the reason why a lot of fathers won't reach out, because of the child being poisoned by the mother as to how that father is. It's already the horrible perception. So the dads are really scared. The dads really don't know what to do. The dads are like, if I reach out to him, he's gonna want to fight me. He's gonna want to beat me up. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand that side of it. But as a son, we got to let go of our ego, and we got to understand that there's two sides to three sides to the story. There's a side you've heard all of your life, and then there's a side that your father's going to tell you. And you might not like it because it may conflict with a lot of the things that your mama told you. And it might not paint your mama in the best light either. So you got to get ready for that too. And then come to a realization on your own, and then decide if you want to have a relationship with this man. A lot of fathers really want relationships with their kids. It's just there are too many barriers put in between them and the kids for that to happen. And when it looks like that, the kids think, okay, my dad don't want me. Now that might not have been the case. It might have been your dad wanted you, but the courts ran him through the ringer. And so now he can't have you unless you around her. And it can only be for a split second. I can't take you and do this. She has to watch me. Your mom has to watch me be a dad. Like, do you see how dumb that sounds?
And demeaning.
Like, that's so stupid. But that's how a lot of these dads think. I want my son. I love my son. I want my daughter. I love my daughter. I want to be a part of their lives. Why are you making this so hard? And then as an adult, you've been hit with all of this information for 18 plus years. You understand what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden the dad reaches out. You like, why are you talking to me? Mama said this about you, and I'm going to believe this because this is all I heard. And all you're going to do is lie to me because mama told me you was a liar. You understand what I'm saying? Like, is the whole thing is goofy, but it's gonna take the dads reaching out. It's gonna take the dad. You got to roll with the punches. If you want to fight you, sometimes as a man, you try to fight your dad. Get it all out the system. And then after you got all of that emotion out, okay, son, let's talk.
You didn't know, Mr. Timothy. I didn't know I didn't.
Uncle Junior, what you got, brother?
That,
Oh,
man,
you
let
went
me give-
already? Did you went
yeah, I
already?
went.
Oh, I'm
Yeah, you went
sorry.
on this topic.
Oh, my bad. I'm sleeping on that. My bad. I think I want to start here. Where did it go? I want to start with this. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. I've said this before, and I hold stern to that. I don't care what image you painted about me. And I'm not going to talk to my child about the details of my personal relationship with their mother. I'm sorry. If she had the conversation with you, good on her. What picture she painted in your head, when you come to me and ask me specificities, I'll be like, we're not going to talk about that. Here's what you need to know. I love you just as much as your mother love you. That's my story. I'm not talking about that because I'm not going to ask you the details of your personal relationship. You are my child. Even if you don't view me as such, I don't lose sight of that just because somebody else has demonized me. I think that's the first thing that we need to understand. Be honest. And I understand that there was some disagreement, but I hold this to be true. Again, the first step to problem solving is to identify the problem. I don't throw the problem at the child. I identify the problem so I can fix this guy. So I need to reflect on our relationship and see what I did wrong and stop talking about what she did wrong. Then I can put in the work to make this person better. Somebody mentioned honest. That's the other piece right there. I have to be honest with this guy first before I can be honest with them. And I need to be honest with my child about how I feel about my child. That honesty means they need to understand I miss you. They need to understand I love you. They need to understand I want to be a part of your life. My daughter texted me yesterday. It almost brought tears to my eye because she didn't want nothing. All she wanted to do is see how daddy was doing. And I told her, I said, you made my week. She said, well, you know. And so we talked about some other things. And that's when I started sharing some things about her and telling her how proud of her I was. After she told me that she was proud of me. So I don't believe in chasing the child. I believe that everybody needs time so that the Holy Spirit can do what only He knows how to do. You can't fix nobody, to include your child. So always be available. I think that's the first thing that mature, responsible men need to do. When and if that child picks up the phone because a degree of curiosity has set in, you jump at the opportunity to answer that phone and you talk. Don't be shy, don't be bashful, talk. But again, don't be forceful either, because I've seen men push their child away because they treat them like this, like you know how the stalker is in the 70s. I'm gonna wear her down. But you can't. What listen? That approach to a relationship doesn't work. It don't work with women. And the show is not gonna work with your child, especially if the child automatically believes that you're the bad guy based upon what the other parent said. Be patient. Continue to work on yourself and be the best version of you so that when that child picks up the phone and say, "Dad, can we talk?" Absolutely. Any and everything under the sun you want to talk about, with one exception, right? I'm holding firm to that because the details of your relationship, that's not their response. That I go back to the honor and respect thing. That has nothing to do with them. Me and your mama, I think Denzel Washington said it on Fences, right? Me and your mama already worked that out, right? We're not going to talk about the details of that, but we can talk about any and everything else. And so if they ask you and you don't know what the story is, if they ask you, why didn't you come back for me? That's where you be honest. That's when you tear down everything that prevents you from pouring your heart out to that child. Why didn't I come back to you? I wanted to come back to you, come back and get you. I couldn't. You be honest. You don't demonize the parent like Roland said. You don't demonize the other parent, but you tell them that you have always wanted to be a part of that child's life. And I think that's the answer. There is no magic formula to this. This is a time process. It's going to take time for that relationship to have depth and breadth to it. Be happy with a text message and celebrate. I can't stress that piece enough. As a father, when your child texts you, celebrate. That's how they communicate these days. We want to get on the phone and do this right here. They ain't got time for that. They busy, just like you were when you were their age. And that's the thing that we have to understand. I think this is a phenomenal question. I think this question, when like we can spend another 45 minutes talking about this question, but unfortunately, the time is near. And what we want to do is get these young men and understand exactly what they're going to talk about. So, with that being said, I believe the first in the shoot is Mr. Christopher.
Okay. Final thoughts. Victim mentality. I said it in the beginning. Victim mentality is a horrible place to be because the victim mentality will cause you to mess things up in your life that could build your life. There comes a point in your life where you are going to have to take personal responsibility for everything that happened, even if you don't think it's your fault, because the only common denominator in everything that happened to you is you. So take personal responsibility for your life. And then once you take personal responsibility for your life, you can make better changes. So staying in the victim mentality too long and blaming everybody else for what's wrong with you is a bad place to be. It's a bad place to be. Personal responsibility is the message. And I'll just leave it at that.
My mute button.
Oh, there
My
you go.
mute button went unmute.
We got you.
Okay. I can't be.
About to say, you good?
No. I'm gonna keep it short and simple because I truly believe that we have a plethora of opportunities that awaits us in our life. there's greatness out there. There's a great relationship out there waiting for somebody. There's a great business opportunity out there waiting for somebody. There's a great, you know, chance to chase that dream just awaiting us if we would pull back from our victim mentality, from walking through life thinking everybody's out to get us and it's something trying to stop us. Sometimes sometimes the problem is you were meant to pave a road that hasn't been traveled yet. So instead of mad because this person won't hire you, you know, I can't cook at this restaurant. How about I start my own kitchen? You know, these opportunities are there if we just get our head out of, ooh, I was about to say a military term, but one of our point of contacts, uh, and, and and start looking at life through a different lens versus someone's out to stop me. How about how can I now operate in this space? There might be some things that are blockers. There might be some walls that are up, but how do I climb the wall? Or can I get two, three brothers together and can we tear this wall down? But there's an answer. So my final thought on that is just what's my responsibility to make it happen, man? And let's just go get it, right? Let's go get it. Giants playoffs. Come on.
Hey, Cowboy Nation, stand up.
Yeah.
My dogs. Final thoughts, man. I'm gonna read a little bit from my notes. That's why I'm writing down a few minutes ago. I think one thing it's important to understand is that not everyone knows that they have a victim mentality. Um, I think that's a lot of times when people are in that, they just don't know because it may have been pushed down or forced upon them, or just maybe just the way that they grew up and they haven't disconnected and they are not on the other side to see that they have a victim mentality. Um, I think life is full of choices. And I think when and if you do recognize that you have a victim mentality, you have a choice to either live in it or do something about it. I don't think that the victim mindset leads, um, I don't think the end of the road is happiness if you have a victim mentality. Um, the victim mindset will affect your life and your overall pursuit for your own happiness. And I think lastly, um, you have to make a choice on whether or not you want to be the victim or you want to be the victor. That's it.
Now it's time for the sermon.
I'm supposed to come after you. Supposed to be the victim of the victor. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. This is a tough and this topic it because it's personal in every way. But first and foremost, because most of y'all use some big words on here, I'm gonna have to throw one out here. Uh, take a very circumspectly look at your life and what you have now, because I think one of the things when you're in this victim mentality, you're looking from a negative angle. You're looking from the side like you've been slighted, and you may have been. And even if you've been slighted in the relationship, in the business, or whatever, there's always a position of growth that you can seek out to better you, to not throw it in somebody else's face. But sometimes you have to rise above certain situations so that somebody can see that they overlooked you or they didn't take you serious enough. And when it comes to, instead of having that victim mentality, because if you have that victim mentality, it's wearing you down. So it wears down your heart, it wears down your body, it wears down your overall being, and it affects every aspect of your life, whether it be family, a job, or whatever. It affects everything. So when you can circumspectly look into your environment that you allow around yourself, it'll be most beneficial to you foremost, because this is who it's for. It's not for the other person. They may benefit. It's not for the job. They may benefit. It's for you. So when you do that and you say, man, I'm actually growing, you'll see that you no longer look at yourself as a victim. You can look at yourself as that victor that Uncle Junior talked about, because when you see yourself in a positive light, it affects how your day goes. It affects how your relationships go. And when somebody can come and tell you something bad, you have something positive to say. You have something good to say, or good advice, or advice, period, because you're not jumping on the bandwagon of negativity. So those are my last words. Look circumspectly at your life and your surroundings, and you will be better off.
Man, I love it. Listen, I'm going to forego my last words today because I think you guys kind of hit it. I just want to leave with one thing. Life does not happen to you. It happens through you. No one exempts. No one is exempt from the victimhood mentality. Everybody went through it. So if you resonate with this conversation, don't look at it as though you're a bad person. Look at it from the perspective like you are now aware. But trust me, every person that you know has gone through it or is dealing with it right now. So, with that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you on the panel. These guys are awesome. I appreciate them every week. And as you can see, they add such great value to our conversations. I want to thank all of the listening audience, people in the chat. I mean, you guys have been phenomenal all night. I definitely appreciate the value that you add to these conversations. And again, we invite you back again next week, next Friday, same time, 8 p.m. right here, as we continue with another phenomenal conversation on the Hearts of Men podcast at 8 p.m. With that being said, you guys have a phenomenal weekend, and we will see you guys next week.